Yesterday's Makos dam. Aaron hits the water, and Chazal tell us why were the first three Makos done by Aaron? Because the water, Moshe Rabbeinu benefited from the water. It was amazing insight of Chazal. You see, the whole Torah is based on Hakaras HaTov. Right at the beginning, when Hashem said, "Go to Mitzrayim and get the Yidden out," Moshe Rabbeinu said, "I've got to first ask permission from Yisro." Yisro opened his door to me in my hour of need, and therefore nafshe mischav, I owe my whole life. I can't do it without his permission. And Hakadosh Baruch Hu agreed. Yeah, no problem. And here as well, the first three Makos were activated al yidei Aaron, because the water, Moshe Rabbeinu was saved in the water. He benefited from the water. Now, did the water have a choice? Does water? You put something which floats on water, it floats. Water doesn't do anything special. And still Moshe Rabbeinu owed Hakaras HaTov to the water. He owed Hakaras HaTov to the sand where he buried the Mitzri. Therefore, it would be wrong for him to bring a Makkah, even to teach Emunah and to teach Parah a lesson. Still, on Moshe Rabbeinu's part, that would be a lack of Hakaras HaTov. Later on, you find it 40 years later. When Hashem said, "Go and fight the Midyanim," Nekom Nikmas, B'nai Yisrael Me'ez HaMidyanim, Moshe was told to go and do it. He didn't do it. He sent Pinchas. Why? He said, "I benefited from Midian. Midian for me was a place to run to. I took a wife from Midian. And therefore I can't fight Midian." So someone put it in perspective. Imagine we had to invade Russia, and the guy, the chief of staff, is married to a Russian. He married a girl from Russia. He can't do it. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu was telling us. If you benefited from somewhere, you've been learning from somewhere, you can't even to bring a Makkah of Hashem. You can't be the one to do it. That would be a pagam in Hakaras HaTov. Yeah. Now, so it turned to blood, and the water it stank. We mentioned all this last night, and all the Nissim, the Kaisol made money on it. But poor Paro is standing there, and he hasn't been to the toilet for 24 hours. So what's he going to do now? This was his daily relief. What's he going to do now? What's going to happen now? So whether they wore pants in those days or not, I don't know. I don't think they did. So it says in the Torah what happened. People don't realise it. It says, "Vayifem Paroi." Everyone translates it normally. He turned round. Vayovel Beis went back into his house. V'lo shos liba gam lozois. Paid no attention to this. But what's gam also to this? Seems to be there's two things going on here. Says the Tag Yonason, in Lashon of the Gemara, to be excused is hanifne. That means actually empty out the bowels. He said, he did it on the floor. He says, "Vayivim Pari," in front of everybody. Vayivim Pari. He couldn't hold it in. Even 24 hours. There's no toilets. There's no royal toilets in his room, in the palace. He hasn't got a toilet there. What's he going to do? He can't go into the water. It's full of blood. Vayivim Pari. He mamish in front of everybody there. He let it go. So that's what the Torah says. He turned around, but shos liba gamlazois, not into the Makkah dam. Now that everyone's found out, Paro is just a normal human being. Even that no, he didn't pay attention to it. That's the gamlazois. But now he can have toilets made. He have toilets made in the palace now. It saved him a job. Saved him a job every morning. Okay, so the Mitzrayim tried to dig around the water. The question is, if they dug elsewhere, would they have found water? It's a very interesting question. So it's a bit of a debate. There seems to be different opinions. I came across tonight somewhere, actually. I didn't bring it in Josephus. See, they went everywhere. Went absolutely everywhere. Right, okay. So Vayimoli Shivas Yomim, Achrei HaKeis Hashem Asiyah. So 7 days after the Makkah of Dam. Now, the Malbim says, if you look carefully, I think we mentioned this once, there's a pattern to the plagues. The 3 sets of 3. The first one is by the water. The warning to Paro is given by the water. The second one is Boyo Paro, come into the palace. And the third one is without a warning. 3, 6, and 9 don't get a warning. So the question is why? Why did 3, 6, and 9 not get a warning? Why did Hashem split it into 3 sets of 3? So the Malbim says very beautiful. There was 3 lessons Paro had to learn. A, Hashem exists. B, Hashgacha Pratis. And C, Kodesh Baruch Hu is the Almighty. He is the koyach of all koyachas in the world. So he said, now, to prove a point in Beis Din, how many witnesses do you need, Eddie? Two. So he said, in each group, the first one was B'zois Teidah, in this first three Makkahs, you'll learn Ki Ani Hashem. I'm Hashem. Not you, I am Hashem. So Makkah 1 and 2 proves the point. So one by the river when he's on his own, one warning. Second one, he's sitting in his palace in front of everybody, a second warning. But with two Makkahs, the point is made. He said the third one, says the Malbim, was like just give him a slap for not listening. It's like a Makkah Bizoyin, yeah? You're not listening the first two times, you have a third one. That's what the Malbim says. The Chazon Sofer says to me, brilliant. He said, why did Hashem warn him at all? Why warn him? He said to give the Chatumim a chance to see if they can outmatch the Makkah. Could they fight back? Could they imitate or knock out the Makkah?
Could they make a vaccine?
Well, so you should think about it. What's number 3 is Kinnim. Why could they not copy the Kinnim? Because it was too small. Yeah, Kisha doesn't work on such small items. So no point giving a warning because the Chatumim couldn't do anything anyway. So no warning there. What's number 6? The boils. The boils went all over the Chatumim and they couldn't even stand there in front of Moshe Rabbeinu. They were so embarrassed. So nothing they could do about that. No point warning them. And of course the last one, in Choshech, nobody could move anyway. So what's the point warning them? Even if they could have technically tried a shtick or some sort of trick, they couldn't have moved anyway. So there was no point of a warning in 3, 6, and 9. So it's just practical why there was no warning. So now, this is one of my favourite, I have to admit, favourite Makkahs. I've done quite a bit of research on Sfardea. So we all grew up and we were all told again in school and in Cheder, Sfardea is frogs. Right? Okay, so Sfardea is a frog. So the Ibn Ezra brings, and the Sforno brings it as well, and the Malbim talks about it as well, that Sfardea was crocodiles. Now, I've got here a picture of my class and me, and this is in Germany, right? And the guy there is holding, now I'll tell you I'm cheating, it's not actually a crocodile, it's an alligator. You couldn't do this to a crocodile. This is actually an alligator. Now, if anyone wants to know the difference between a crocodile and an alligator, well, physically, the one has a square-shaped nose, one has a pointy nose. The crocodile has a pointy nose rather than like a rectangular nose. The eyes are slightly different. The positioning on the head, the eyes are different. But the third thing one is an alligator, believe it or not, is actually quite a placid animal. You can go up to an alligator and you can touch it. And I'll tell you what happened just prior to this photo in a minute. And as long as you don't cheppy it, if you cheppy it, it will respond. It will like snap back at you. But otherwise, alligators is actually very placid. Crocodiles are vicious. You can't go near. You go anywhere near a crocodile. Now this is an alligator.
The guy with the blue pants are very brave.
Now, 5 minutes before this photo, so you actually go around the back of this alligator sanctuary. The boys didn't believe it was safe because you basically walk in and they're all over the place. So the boy said, "Is it really safe?" So he takes the boy to come here, and he takes him up to an alligator, and he says, "Right, sit on it." So the boy did. He sat on it, didn't move. He took his shoes off, and he went on the alligator in the water like a surfboard. The alligator took him for a ride around the surfboard. No joke. He then, this guy here, he tickled its nose, opens his mouth up like this, put his hand through, and then he closed it like a game to play. Did it a second time, 3 times. If you're prepared to pay €400, he'll let you go swimming with the alligators. It's an insurance policy, the €400. So the boys still weren't convinced. So he said, all right, he takes his mobile phone out, he takes his wallet out, he jumps into the big pool, the alligators, and he comes out carrying this alligator. And he said, look, they don't, they're quite, tolerant of people. He came out, and at Kinekach, normally he charges €20 for a photo. He let me take a photo of the whole class free of charge. He was in a good mood. And he said, here, take it. And he told them, touch it. So you can see, right, that's an alligator. So you can do an alligator. On one occasion, one year we went, and it's very funny. One was in the way of the path, and he wanted to move it to the side gently, so he gently prodded it with a brush. And the alligator didn't like that, being told to move. So the attacker snapped. It jumped up and bit the brush in half. Big yard brush, big Gesundheit yard brush. And he started screaming at the alligator, "Head off, head off!" It was very funny. But this year, on the picture, he said they're actually, but an alligator, a crocodile, you can't go anywhere near a crocodile.
All these kids in shorts.
These are what?
Are they in shorts?
Well, no. Well, he was happy. He was holding it. So on one occasion, he had it. and He dropped it, and we ran. We ran for that door. You know, faster than the speed of light. We were out the door. It was very funny. So, anyways, that's an alligator. Alligator, you got an eighter with an alligator. Now, but a crocodile, he used to have one there, but he had to manage to keep it indoors. He was locked in a cage, and if you just looked at it, it was going bananas in this cage. They're ferocious. Now, I've got a little bit of a story here now. This is quite amazing. Of all the crocodiles in the world, do you know which is the most ferocious crocodile? The Nile crocodile. Followed by the Salt Lake Water one in America. But the Nile crocodile is the crocodile to keep well away from. That is the one to keep well away from. It says here, he said, crocodile attacks on humans are common in places where large crocodiles are native. He said the two species with the most well-known documented reputation for preying on humans are the Nile crocodile and the saltwater crocodile. And these are the perpetrators of the vast majority of both fatal and non-fatal crocodilian attacks. Each year, hundreds of deadly attacks are attributed to the Nile crocodile in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, it says here, where do you find them? Where do you find, by and large, crocodiles? The Nile crocodile is Africa's largest and most widely distributed crocodile. It can be found in Egypt, in the north, that's his HQ, through Central and East Africa down to South Africa. The largest specimens and concentrations of these crocodiles are in the lakes and the rivers of Central and East Africa. Okay, so he said they can swim 35 kilometers an hour. He said, now how do they do it? It's quite amazing what they do is they approach the river bank while the buffaloes and ox and all the wildebeest are drinking water there. And they've got to be very quiet because they get a feeling there's crocodiles in the area, so they're a bit nervous. And they sort of come up to the surface, like the periscope, keep it in, then they go underneath, and they said then they jump out, and they've got almost one chance. If they miss the grab with its jaws, if it misses, then the animal will get away. It's got to grab it enough, it brings it into the water, it drowns it, and then mammoth just gobbles it up, and that's it, gone. No time at all. And so it's crushing bones and raw meat, just gone in no time at all. They can grow up to 6 to 8 meters, and the biggest one they ever found was 10 meters long, 30 feet. The longest, the biggest one that's ever been discovered. They are absolutely ferocious. Now, if Hashem is teaching Paro, Ki ani Hashem, I created everything, it makes a lot of sense. So number one, he's just shown how water can change properly to blood. Because the creator of water can change it to create blood. Hashem is showing him, I am the creator of all existence. Hashem now shows him a new lesson. This is what the Malbim says it. Others say it as well. Crocodiles and alligators probably as well had not existed at Ma'aseh Bereshis. It was a new bria created now to teach Paro, Ani Hashem, I am the creator. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to create something never existed before in the world, and it's totally weird compared to any other mammal in the world. What's so weird about it? It lives in water. You can go in and out of the water. Yeah, it's basically a land creature, but it can stay up to 2 hours underwater. It's got a unique feature. It doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. Not in human beings, not in any other animal. It was created now to show Paro I can do what I want. Says this no. It moves its upper jaw. Everybody else, you chew with your nose. You try and move it. You can't move your head. Your head stays still. You chew with your jaw. The crocodile on his belly on the floor can't do that. Because Roger made it open up that way.
The crocodile can do both.
Well, if you give it space, it'll move its lower jaw as well. Yeah, but it moves if predominantly its lower jaw, its upper jaw. And that was a Bria Chadasha created now to show Paro, you've never seen these before, I'll show you something new. That's the lesson of the first 3 Makos. You're going to learn, I am Hashem, the creator of all existence, and just to show you very vividly, I'm going to create something very ferocious. New. You've never seen it before. No one's ever seen it before. So much so, there's a very famous machlokas what happened with the Svardeya. Did one pop out, and some clever Mitzri, probably not knowing what it was, went up to it and tried to whack it, and it split into two. And they did it again, and it started splitting like that. So that it was self-inflicted. The Maccabees brought it on themselves. That's one opinion. That is Rabbi Akiva's opinion. Rabbi Lozman Azariah said to him, no, that's not what happened. One came out, so looked this way, looked that way, saw the coast was clear, and he whistled to all his mates in the river, and they all came out, swarms and billions of frogs. Oh, well, it was frogs as well, we'll see in a minute. It was actually both. And they came out. So the Malbim says, what's the machlokas, Rabbi Akiva and Rabbi Lozman Azariah? Either way, there was a major plague of Tzvardeya. What's the difference whether it was one came out and split each time they tried to whack it, or one came out and told his mates and they all came out en masse? So he said the Torah's wording is, Hashem, Moshe warned him, V'sharatz haya'or tsefardim. It will swarm with tsefardim. Where was this word used elsewhere in the Torah? Day 5 of creation. Yishrutzu hamayim sheretz nefesh chai. The water will swarm with beings. So what's the machlokas? How did HaKadosh Baruch Hu make the world? Did he make one set of fish? Of, I don't know, piranha fish. There was a male and a female, and they just started to reproduce like fish do by the million. Or did HaKadosh Baruch Hu make one set of male and female of every animal, and then they started reproducing? Or did he make millions of fish? Millions of each species of fish, he made millions. That's the machlokas. Rabbi Akiva said HaKadosh Baruch Hu made one set. So just like Yishrutzu in Bereshis means one set, here as well it means one, and then it started splitting like he did there. Rabbi Lozman says, no. Ma'aseh Bereshis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu made millions of each species of fish, of each species of marine creature, made loads of them, and here as well, millions came out in one go. Now, part of the Malbim says it was actually both, because two things happened to the Svardeya. It says they died and they made heaps of rotting, decaying flesh, which made the land even more putrid after it had already gone once with the blood. But then it says Moshe Rabbeinu told him, "Rak by Sha'arna, they'll remain in the river. They'll remain in the river." So says the Malbim, that's the two things. The actual frogs, which are no use to anybody, dead frogs, they all died in the street. They had to sweep them up and make piles and piles of rotting, smelly, dead frogs. He said the crocodiles went back in the river, and Moshe Rabbeinu was referring to those when he said, "Rak by Sha'arna." Now, I'll tell you something very interesting. Crocodiles, even in Egypt, they only attack people who come right too close to the water edge. Very interesting phenomenon. They don't actually come away from the water and go inland looking for people. They stay in the water, and they'll come out a bit, and they'll sunbathe a bit, and anyone who comes near them, they'll go for them. Or very often, little boats going along the river, they'll follow it and cap a guy. So why is that? Why attacking? Do they not come inland, further inland? So the Rishonim say because Moshe Rabbeinu was geyser rak by Sha'arna, they will remain in the river. So close to the river banks, that's the river. That's the area of the river. Moshe Rabbeinu was geyser, that's where they will stay. So attacking, they stayed there. They stayed there because of the tzaddik. Moshe Rabbeinu was geyser. That's how it should be. So that's the mitzias of the crocodile. Okay, so let's see what happens here. Now here I've got this guy here again. Actually, before we get to that, now let's go back onto frogs. Mayor, if I say to you the word frog, what colour comes to mind? Red? Red and black. On a frog.
Poison dart frog.
What colour comes to mind, Edam? Green. That's the standard colour of a frog, 'cause that's the frogs we see. There's actually 16 different colours of frogs, and the rule is the more colourful it is, the more poisonous it is. And the worst one is the yellow one, the yellow poison dart frog.
Is it not the red poison?
Now, so just in case you want to know what frogs look like, we've got here, anyway, take them over for Satan night. Right, here, Ali. Right, if you're lucky enough, here, the guys in the back, do you want to come get some? Here, then give them out. Oh. The rule is, they look beautiful. The colours are absolutely, the colours are absolutely beautiful. But the rule is, the more colourful it is, don't touch it. Right, so the yellow one, listen to this. He says here, the yellow Here we are. This is it. A single golden poison frog harbours enough poison in its skin to kill 10 men.
Wow.
If 10 people would touch it one after another, it's enough toxicity in the skin to kill them.
Just a touch.
Yeah, just touching the skin. Rubs off of the skin.
Slime.
Making these frogs perhaps the most poisonous animals alive. They are one of many species of toxic frogs which are known as poison dart frogs. They are all small. The biggest goes to 6 centimeters, some just 1.5. And these tiny, beautiful creatures are really, really poisonous. So there's nowhere where it says the frogs that came out of Mitzrayim were green, harmless frogs. Right? There's nowhere to suggest it was. Okay? So, besides, they were everywhere. But it wasn't that you could, I don't know whether they had shoes, how they, maybe that's outside they did, but certainly in their houses, to have these in the house is not just noisy, it's pachad pachodim. You just touch one of them, and the guy's gone. Right? There's no way it says that it was the green frog. Now listen to this. It's quite funny. He says, 1 week after Hashem struck the Nile, he goes back and tells him, Paro, let them go again. He said, the presence of frogs, per se, he says, would not have been unusual. He said, because the receding Nile left ponds which have been a natural breeding ground for frogs. In normal years, an abundance of frogs would have been considered a blessing, since they actually help to control the insect population. He said, but what did the Torah tell us here? Quite amazing. This makkah goes beyond the Nile into the houses, the bedrooms, the kitchens, and the people, as the frogs were abandoning the polluted waterways. The number of frogs was beyond all logical explanation. They not merely left the Nile, but they covered the whole of Mitzrayim. Now, he describes here what it would be like to be with a sheet of frogs in your bed or in your room. He says, what was actually threatened was the ugliness of having slimy, unsanitary, unpleasant to the touch amphibians everywhere, and the constant annoyance of having to listen to them croak and peep throughout all parts of people's houses. Implied is the disgust that would occur when people stepped on the frogs. As far as we know, the Egyptians did not wear shoes indoors. When they rolled over on them in bed, again, people slept on mats on the floor, not in elevated beds like we think of the word bed. And when they were surprised by them in various places, they thought otherwise were clean. Now, this is amazing. He says, in various parts of the East, instead of what we call an oven, they dig a hole in the ground in which they insert a kind of earthen pot, which having sufficiently heated, they stick their cakes on the inside of the pot, and when they bake them, they replace them with others. To find such places full of frogs when they came to heat them, in order to make their bread, must be both disgusting and distressing in the extreme. Paro's magicians could not remove the plague. They only added to the number of frogs, as we'll see in a minute. And Moshe, very interestingly, we'll get to it, allowed Paro to determine when the frogs would be removed. Why did Moshe say to Paro, when do you want to get rid of them? He said that would prove that their removal was not by chance or by some other natural process. It could be seen clearly it was the Yad Hashem. And he says something amazing here. He said the fact Paro said to Moshe, the fact that Paro entreated Moshe to intercede with Hashem to take away the frogs was a sure sign he recognized that Hashem had indeed sent this makkah. The fact he asked him, down to Hashem, shows Paro now believed who had sent the makkah. Didn't yet believe he's the Almighty yet. He's not given none of that yet. But the concept now of who is sending Moshe Rabbeinu has got home to Paro. Now, let's have a look at this. Moshe Rabbeinu, in the only makkah where he does this, he gives a tochnit, an itinerary of how it's going to happen. And he says like this: V'shoras hayosfardim, it will swarm with frogs. V'olu, they will come up. Uva'u b'veisecha, first into your house. Uv'chadar mishkavecha, and into your bedroom. V'al mitzasecha, and onto your bed. And then uv'veis avadecha, they'll go next door to the house of your servants. Uv'amecha, then your people. Uv'tanorecha, into the ovens. Uv'misharisecha, on the kneading troughs. And not only that, this will make a lot of sense of little frogs, Uvacha, they will enter inside you. You'll swallow them. Uva'amcha, and in your people. Uvachol avadecha, and in all your servants, Ya'alu hatzafardim. Why is Moshe Rabbeinu giving it an itinerary? Now don't forget, what's Paro thinking? He's thinking Moshe is really good at Kishuv, of black magic. And Paro knows the rules of black magic. There's two big rules of Kishuv. Right? If you can turn this plastic bag into a frog mare, it would go like this. Ba-dum, into a frog. And when the spell wears off, it would instantaneously go back into a plastic bag. That's how it works. That's how Kishuv works. Another thing the Gemara says, if you want to test out if you're suspicious of an animal in front of you is really black magic, the Gemara says just pour some water on it. Kishuv can't work in it with any contact with water. So says the Ma'or Shemesh, he said Moshe Rabbeinu was giving Paro absolute proof this is not Kishuv. Number one, it's going to go in stages. Kishuv can't work in stages. It's in and out. This is going to go in stages, and by saying they will remain in the water is additional proof it's not Kishuv, because any contact with water, if there is any Kishuv, it disappears. So that's why, Dafka here, he gives this itinerary. Now, you can rest assured, lice affected Paro in his house and in his bedroom and wherever he was. Why is it only stressed here that the frogs will come into your bedroom? The only makkah where it's actually stressed, although they would have affected everywhere, blood everywhere, would have gone to everyone's house. Yeah, the wild animals will be everywhere. You know, the locust everywhere. Why dafka with Tzvadea? Eddie, is it stressed? He'll come into the bedroom. So, taking the theme we started last night, the whole purpose of the Makos was not just to punish Paro, midah keneged midah, is to teach him emunah, and it's to knock out the avodah zarahs of Mitzrayim. Guess which was the avodah zarah of fertility? The frog. Unbelievable. Listen to this. It says here, the avodah zarahs of Egypt were affected by this plague. Number one, the frog was considered the theophany, well that means, of this avodah zarah called, whatever she's called, and she was supposed to be the wife of the creator of the world and the avodah zarah of childbirth. Whenever they found pictures of this avodah zarah drawn on the hieroglyphics, she's always shown with the head of a frog. Amulets and scarabs worn by women to protect them during childbirth would often bear the image of this avodah zarah for protection. She was believed to assist women in childbirth. Now, consider the irony. In the statement, the frogs invaded Paro's bedroom. That's the point. Hashem's turned what they worshipped as avodah zarah fertility, Hashem turns it against them in the bedroom. That's the exact point of it, to show them it's nonsense. It's shtussim, right? What you're worshipping and very loyal to is going to turn against you in the very area where they worshipped it. That's exactly why the Torah mentions it. Only this makkah, v'chada mishkavecha, in your bedroom. V'al mitosecha. Oh, now he goes a stage further. It says v'al mitosecha. Now he doesn't bring that here. He wouldn't know this. But it says in Chazal, the Paro who kidnapped Sarah Imenu, and he had to give her back, he had an image of Sarah made, he kept it in his bed. The Tzvadea came and destroyed it. That's why it says here, Al Mitosecha. Again, Kosh Baruch Hu showing him, I know what you did, I know what you did, I know what you know, I know everything, and here you're going to get, it's all going to be destroyed. All going to be destroyed. It was Dafka here, these are mentioned, it was very specific to the avodah zarahs of fertility, and that had to be destroyed as well in every stage of the Makos, and that's why it's mentioned the bedroom and the bed. Now he says here, an interesting thing. He said frogs were the symbol of abundance, and here they did the exact opposite. They brought death. And the fact that Paro asked Moshe to remove it shows he recognized it did come from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Now let's have a look at the words in the Pasuk. So Vayoma Hashem el Moshe, el Aaron. Again, Aaron has to do it. Neteyes yodcha b'matecha, stretch your hand out with a stick. Al hanahoros, all the waters of Egypt, and bring up the Tzvadea. So he does so. Now, so the Chatzumim tried it with their black magic, and they seem to have brought out even more Tzvadea. Didn't make it work better. They made it worse. They brought up even more. Okay. So now, Vayikra Paro l'Moshe l'Aaron Vayoma hatiru el Hashem. Please daven to Hashem. V'yoseh hatzvadim imeni mi'ami v'ashal. I will send the people out. V'yizbechu la'Hashem. Now, how did Paro know this? I found this out tonight. How did Paro know to call Moshe, to ask him to daven to Hashem? How did he know you can daven to Hashem? How did he know? How did he know? So Chazal say, amazing measure. He said the frogs which jumped inside Paro were croaking in his stomach, started speaking. Amazing chazal. It said they were talking to each other, and one frog said to the other one, "When are we going to get out of here? When are we leaving? When are we leaving Paro's palace? When are we going?" And one called back. He says, "Well, when Ben Amram davens for us to go, we'll go." So Paro never picked up the idea what to do. So he knew now to call Moshe and ask him to daven to get rid of it. That's why he knew to call them and say, "Please daven and get rid of this makkah." So he'd been given the message by the Tzvardeya. So now Moshe Rabbeinu does something very strange here, and he says, "When I'll daven now for you, but please tell me the time you would like me to get rid of them." Now here Paro fell into a trap. Paro thought it was Kishuf, or wanted to believe it was Kishuf, and probably thought Moshe knows the spell is about to wear off, and logically I should say now, get rid of the plague now, because he knows anyway it's about to wear off. So I'll be clever and I'll say tomorrow, catch him out. So he said tomorrow. So Moshe Rabbeinu said, "Oh, it's a pity, you could have had it today, but you wanted tomorrow, I'll start down for tomorrow." So Paro really, he made it worse for himself. In his attempt to try to mach Moshe Rabbeinu, he made it worse for himself. So he says, when do you want me to get rid of them? He says, "Vayomer lemocha." So he says, "Okay, Vayomer kidvarecha, as you request. Leman teida, you should know, ki ein kashem elekeinu, there's no one like Hashem, our God. You have no one, there's no avodah zarah, nothing can compete with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He is the Almighty, and you're going to learn this lesson now. Because all these avodah zarahs they were worshipping have just been knocked out. Another layer has been knocked out, and you're going to learn another layer of emunah in HaKadosh Baruch Hu." Now, Paro's words were ha'atiru. Do you know how many words there are for davening in Lashon HaKodesh? It's 10 actually. What we know is tefillah, vayisbalel, the famous ones we know. But the tza'aka and the vayatiru says Yitzchak daven for children. It says vayeta Yitzchak laHashem l'nechei ishto. Now, what's vayeta? What type of tefillah is that? So Chazal say, when you want Hashem to completely reverse something, 100%, completely overturn it, that's vayeta. That's vayeta. So Paro actually said, ha'atiru. He asked for complete removal of the makkah. So that's why he keeps on saying ha'atiru. Get rid of it completely. Daven to remove it completely. But Moshe Rabbeinu says no. He says, "I'll daven for you, but not the way you want it." He says, "V'tzara hatzvardim," they'll go, and he says again, they'll go in stages. To show you it's not kishuf, they'll go in stages. So he says, "Mimcha, u'mibotecha, u'mi'avodecha, u'mi'amecha," and then he says, "Rak by earth tisharona." So some will remain. If some are going to remain, it's not a complete removal. So he couldn't daven with ha'atiru. So what did Moshe Rabbeinu do? Vayitzak Moshe el Hashem. Different type of tefillah. So why do you have to cry out? Gingy, why do you have to cry out? Because Baruch Hu hears silent Shemon Esses as well. So there's two explanations given. One is because he asked for half and some should stay behind, he had to daven with more intensity. So he had to cry out to Hashem. Another, I think the Chofetz Chaim says, when you say Shemon Esses, ideally you should hear the words. You shouldn't speak it loud, but whisper loud enough that you can hear. You hear you had all the frogs in the background making a massive noise. He couldn't hear himself. So he had to cry out because what could he do? Yeah, for Fallon, you have to be able to hear the words of Tefillah when you say them. So therefore it needed a Vayitzah. So, carries on. Vayas Hashem kitvar Moshe vayamusu atzvardim min habotim u'min hachatzeros u'min hasodos. Houses, courtyards and fields. In the warning, Moshe Rabbeinu never said they'll go in the fields. He only said they'll go in the houses. So where are they going from the fields now? So the Chazal says the ones the Chatzumim brought up had no room in the houses. They had no room in the houses. They were already full. So they went into the fields. And even theirs died. When Moshe Rabbeinu davened, even theirs died. Even though he didn't bring them out, that was the Chatzumim, they died in the fields. So what do? They piled them up into piles and it stank. Rotting flesh is a very, very unpleasant smell. So the late Rav Sadia Amor was Choni Racha. He said there's a very gishmaka remes in this pasuk. He says, when people pile up chumras, then Mativ Hasha'aretz, it's pastunkin. He said it starts to stink. Now, you can't just make up chumras. Yeah, it's got to be a sensible chumra, but some people, they pile them on. He said, then it's not right. He said, it's not right. He said, it gives off a foul smell of what the Torah is all about. He said he had this remes, right? His knowledge in halacha was so clear, he wasn't machman anything. He had such a clarity. His knowledge of Allah, and he said, when you pile up chumras, he said, then Mativash haaretz, he said, things start to smell. That was his melitza. Okay, so Paro was true to form. he said you can go, but then once he got a bit of breathing space, Hashem told Moshe he's not going to listen. Right? But keep giving him chances, keep trying. But till, now Hashem actually told him when Paro's going to reach a certain stage where that's the end. That's going to be the last straw. And it says in Shemos, V'lo yishma aleichem Paro, when he reaches a stage where he doesn't want to hear you anymore, then that's it. That's when Makos is going to happen. And that's why when Paro in Pasha's boy says, get out, I don't want to see you anymore, Moshe Rabbeinu said, you're right, I'm never going to see you again. That was the message. Once Paro's fed up, doesn't want to see him again, it's come to the end. That's the end of educating Paro. Now he's going to get punished with Makos B'choros. Now, okay, so the third one is Kinnim. Now, do you know how many types of Kinnim came on Mitzrayim, Ellie? So we always think of lice, yeah? The little itchy lice, yeah? Sorry, actually, I forgot. Listen to this, the Medrash. The Medrash says, many years later in history, it says they put out the fires, they put out everything, and it says the ones who jumped in the fires are the ones who survived because they're most nefesh to keep Hashem's command to go everywhere. They were the ones who survived. Yeah, everyone thought, all the frogs probably thought they're the shmerels, they came in last, they're going to jump in the fire. Yeah? But no, they were the ones who survived. Listen to this Medrash. It's a Medrash in Tehillim. It says, Minayin darshu Chanani, Mishael, v'Azariah. Tavinu Chanetzah, he took these three very great Yidden, and he gave them a choice, either bow down to the Avodah Zarah or into the fire. So they decided they're going to jump into the fire. So the Gemara says, it's a Gemara in Pesachim, but the Medrash says, where did they get the idea from to jump in the fire? What gave them the courage to jump in the fire? Maksiv Bahen, some of the frogs had to jump in over Tanurecha, over Misharesecha, into the ovens and the kneading bowls. Now, when does a woman have a kneading bowl full of dough? When the fire is stoked up in the oven and about to bake bread. B'shar Shulchan, Melamed, that teaches us, they threw themselves into the oven, and they went down to make a Kiddush Hashem. How did the Kodesh Baruch Hu repay them? All the others died. Those who went into the ovens, because they were most nefesh to be burnt. They came up alive. So the Malbim in Bereshis explains this Chazal. What was I looking for? If there's a mitzvah to die Kiddush Hashem, jump in the fire, and not serve the Avodah Zarah, what's that getting cricket to the Sfardim for? What are you looking for the Sfardim? Says the Malbim, unbelievable pshat. He said, why did Hashem create Adam after he created everything else in the world? So he says, Hashem took a little bit of the koyach of everything he'd created and put it into man. So you get some people very, very brave, right? That's the koyach of a lion, yeah, or a tiger. You get some people, I don't know, very clumsy. That's probably like an elephant. Koyach of an elephant just goes through, doesn't care where it stands. And it says that every koyach, it says that man is called an oil of cotton, a miniature world, because every little koyach in the bria, there's a little bit of that in a human being. Now, Chanani Mishav Azai have just been presented with a choice: jump in this fire or serve the Avodah Zarah. Now, they knew self-preservation to protect yourself from danger is a natural human reaction. You can't willingly put yourself in a dangerous place. There's a survival instinct, and every animal, even an animal knows if it thinks there's a predator in the area, it runs for it. So their question was, how can a Kodesh Baruch Hu give us a mitzvah which is humanly impossible? The natural instinct of survival would not allow a person to jump into a fire. Kiddush Hashem, it's impossible. So what they were doing was, says the Malbim, they went through the entire Bria. Is there an animal, is there something somewhere which has shown it has the koyach to put aside its own personal safety and do something dangerous? And they chapped, it was the frogs. Hashem created frogs with this ability. If frogs have it, that koyach exists in the human being as well, to disregard, and therefore there can be a mitzvah to jump into a fire. So they made a Kal Vachomer for the frogs. Frogs didn't have a real Mitzvah Kiddush Hashem. It was a Tzivui Hashem. And they still did it to keep the most necessary. So therefore, it's possible, and therefore, we have got a mitzvah to do it, and therefore they went in. Al Smach, or they learned from the frogs that it is humanly possible to actually disregard what you know to be extremely dangerous to your self-survival and still do something beyond that. That's how the Malvin, it's a very beautiful chat, how the Malvin learns chat in the Gemara. Okay. So getting back to the Kinnim, how many types of Kinnim were there in Mitzrayim? Very interesting. There was 14. 14 types of Kinnim. Now, the Kinnim is very, very interesting. If you ever see pictures of the Chachmei Mitzrayim, you'll notice they were bald. They actually had no bodily hair, and their bodies were very, very clean. So Kinnim on people like that was especially powerful in getting to the Chatzumim. Now he says here, he said the word lice is translated as sandflies or fleas or mosquitoes in other translations. The Hebrew word kinnim comes from the root word meaning to dig. It's probable that the insect in question would dig under the skin. Now apparently if you go to Scotland, you get a real problem. It's called picks, I think. It's a little insect which actually tunnels under your skin. It can be very dangerous. Tick, not pick. Yeah, tick.
Lyme disease.
Is that what it's called?
I think so. It gives the Lyme disease.
It gives Lyme disease. What does that do to the skin? Apparently, if you get it, you should go to hospital straight away and they'll clean it out or something. It tunnels into the skin. It's very possible that's what these kinnim are. Yeah, we call it lice because we think of a little creepy crawly. By the way, if you ever magnify a lice, it looks like a gigantic monster. You know, it looks really, really ugly with real hefty claws and everything. It looks really, really, a mole, you get a big one in the kid's hair, you actually see it walking around. Yeah, but they actually look like ogres. But he says here, it's probable that the insect in question would dig under the skin. Now, the type of insect, a gnat, involved in the plague is not clear since the Hebrew word is only used in this context. He said most people think it's like a mosquito or the tick as the likeliest identification. Now, he said mosquitoes are known to exist around the Nile, and he said the fishermen, very interesting, the fishermen use their nets to catch fish by day, and at night time they put it over their bed, the net, to protect them from insects. It's quite a common thing done in ancient Egypt. So he said if he sleeps wrapped in a garment or a cloth, the thing would bite through it, but through the net they wouldn't do it. Now, so he says, here we are. This little animal, even though it's very small, is exceedingly annoying, for not only does it spoil the appearance, creating unseemly and itching, it also penetrates into the innermost parts of the body, entering the nostrils and the ears. It flies into the eyes, injures the pupils, unless one takes great care, and what care could be taken against so extensive a plague, especially when it was Hashem who was inflicting the punishment. Now, interesting, this guy, a very interesting suggestion. He says, is it very possible it was the mosquito? Do you know who the major predator of mosquitoes is? It's frogs. And all the frogs have just died. So it's very, very possible, he said, that therefore the follow-on included these mosquitoes. He said the major enemy of mosquitoes is frogs, had largely been destroyed in the plague before this. Now, which avodah zarahs were being knocked out now? In Makos Kinnim. He said they had one avodah zarah called, whatever his name was, the great god of the earth, and head of the divine tribunal on the kingship. He said they used to worship this avodah zarah with soil, with sand. That's how they used to offer up to it. He said he was the source of fresh water, ultimately all that the earth produced. So this avodah zarah was directly associated with the fertility of both the earth and livestock. This plague, here we are, this is it. This plague would have been especially dreadful to the priests of Egypt, for they were required to shave their hair off every day and wear a single tunic that no lice would be permitted on their bodies. They were very clean, they kept their clothes very clean, and in dirty clothes, that's where lice, in the camps, they used to delouse the clothes. They had no sanitary facilities. That was part of even at night they couldn't really sleep. He said the daily ritual of the priests of Egypt was not possible because of the physical impurity. Though the priests often performed important secular tasks, he said, throughout the he said the priests were circumcised, shaved the whole bodily hair, including eyebrows and lashes. They conducted their rites cloaked in white garments and animal skins. He said, and the whole reason why every day they used to shave their hair was to keep lice off the body. Because lice homes in on the hair. That's why you got all the lice combs, yeah? Is to comb it out of the hair. He said they shaved their bodies every day to guard against the presence of lice or anything equally unpleasant while they did their religious duties. He said they also wore linen only and shoes made from papyrus plant. He said, and they used to have a bath or shower twice a day to keep them clean. Along came all these lice, and we were particular impact on the Kohanim of Mitzrayim, on the religious leaders. So he says here, he said that the constant purifications succeeded each other, and the garb of the religious must be fresh and unspoiled. It consisted entirely of the purest white linen, that's from Egypt, and wearing a wool and other fabrics being strictly forbidden. Was not, they couldn't wear anything else. Okay, so he said, by the end of the third plague, the magicians in Paris court had been forced to admit they could not compete with Moshe and his God. What did they say? They now threw in the towel. They couldn't get these off their body, so they said, "Es Belakimi, this is the finger of God." They threw in the towel. They were now makir. They were powerless. They're going to go quite amazing. He says, through these three terrible plagues against the Avodah Zarah of Mitzrayim, and the Avodah Zarah of Mitzrayim had remained silent, and the worst was yet to come. They were makir. This is Es Belakimi. They already conceded a Makah 3. Now, the very beautiful shot from the Vilna Gaon. We know in Kriyas Yamsuf it says, Vayay Yisrael es Hayod Haggadolah. So in the Haggadah we say, yeah, there was 5 times as many Makkahs at the sea than there were in Mitzrayim. So was it 10 and 50? Was it 40, 200? 50 and 250? So what's the difference? Why here did they say Etz Balakim, and there it's Hayod Haggadolah? So it says the Vilna Gaon. When you warn somebody, you use a finger. You say, you dare do it. You wave the finger. When you want to strike somebody, you use the whole hand. He said, the Chatzumim not only realised it's from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, they said, Paro, you better back off. This is just a warning. Etz Balakim. He said, you're going to get far worse if you don't back off. Right? This is just a warning. And of course, Paro, it was at his expense, yeah? He wasn't prepared to do it. He just wouldn't give in. And of course, he held on to them. And now, Mr. tomorrow night, we'll do the next of the second 3 Makkahs.